The room was silent, except for the rustling of papers in Mr. Grayson's hands. The old lawyer adjusted his glasses, his voice trembling as he read the will. And to my beloved housekeeper, Lila May, I leave my entire fortune. Gasps filled the air. The family members, dressed in fancy clothes, turned to Lila, their mouths open in shock. Lila, a small woman with gray hair and a plain dress, stood in the corner, her hands nervously twisting her apron. The room exploded with shouts. "You're joking!" screamed Clara, the rich niece, her diamond earrings shaking. That maid gets everything? Her brother Victor laughed meanly, pointing at Lila. Her? She's nobody. She cleaned grandfather's floors. The cousins snickered, their voices sharp like knives. Lila's face turned red, but she said nothing, her eyes fixed on the floor. Mr. Grayson cleared his throat, holding up a hand. "It's true," he said. "Lila May inherits all of Mr. Thornton's wealthiest mansion, his money, his lands, everything." The family's laughter stopped, their faces twisted with anger. Clara stepped toward Lila, her high heels clicking loudly. "You tricked him, didn't you? You sneaky little..." Before she could finish, Mr. Grayson slammed his hand on the table. "Enough!" he shouted. "This is Mr. Thornton's will." The room went quiet again, but the tension was thick. Lila looked up, her eyes wide with fear and something else. Was it a secret? The family stared at her, their eyes burning with hate. Why would old Mr. Thornton, a grumpy millionaire, leave everything to a simple housekeeper? What did Lila know that they didn't? What was Lila hiding? The question hung in the air as the family whispered angrily to each other, plotting already. Lila slipped out of the room, her heart pounding. She didn't want this fortune. She didn't even know why Mr. Thornton chose her. But as she stepped into the hallway, she heard footsteps behind her. Someone was following her, her breath caught in her throat. Who was it? And what did they want? Lila's heart raced as she hurried down the dim hallway of Mr. Thornton's mansion. The footsteps behind her echoed, fast and sharp, like someone didn't care if she heard them. She clutched her apron, her hands shaking. "Who's there?" she called, her voice small. No answer. The footsteps stopped. Lila turned, but the hallway was empty, the shadows long and creepy. A cold breeze brushed her neck, making her shiver. Was it just her imagination, or was someone really after her? Earlier that day, before the will reading, Lila had been scrubbing the kitchen floor, like always. She was Mr. Thornton's housekeeper for 10 years, quiet and hardworking. The family never noticed her they'd breeze past, laughing or arguing, leaving dirty dishes for her to clean. Mr. Thornton was different, though. He'd sit in his study, watching her work, sometimes asking about her day. "You're kind, Lila," he'd say, his voice gruff but warm. She thought he was just being nice. Never did she dream he'd leave her everything. Now, back in the hallway, Lila's mind spun. Why me? She thought. Mr. Thornton had a big family, Clara, Victor, and their greedy cousins. They all expected his millions. Lila didn't want trouble. She just wanted to go home to her tiny apartment and her cat Muffin. But the will changed everything. The family's mean words at the reading stung her heart. "She's nobody," Victor had laughed. Lila's cheeks burned, remembering it. She wasn't nobody. She was Lila. But was there something she didn't know? She reached the kitchen, her safe place, and locked the door. Breathing hard, she leaned against the counter. Then she saw Ida note slipped under the door. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. In messy handwriting, it said, "You don't deserve it. Give it up, or you'll regret it." Lila gasped, dropping the note. Her eyes darted to the window. A shadow moved outside, quick and dark. Someone was watching her. But who? Clara with her angry eyes? Victor with his cruel laugh? Or someone else hiding a bigger secret? Lila's hand shook as she stared at the threatening note on the kitchen floor. Give it up, or you'll regret it. Her breath came in quick gasps. The shadow outside the window was gone, but her heart still pounded. She stuffed the note into her apron pocket, her mind racing. Who hated her enough to do this? She wasn't safe here. Not in Mr. Thornton's big, creaky mansion. But where could she go? She had no family, no one to trust. Only Muffin, her cat, waiting at home. Earlier that week, things had been quiet. Lila remembered dusting Mr. Thornton's study, his favorite room. He'd been sick for months, barely leaving his bed, but his eyes always lit up when she brought him tea. Lila, he'd whispered one day, you're the only one who listens. She'd smiled, thinking he was just lonely. Now she wondered if he'd meant something more. Did he know something about her? Something even she didn't know? She crept to the kitchen door, peeking into the hallway. It was empty, but the air felt heavy, like someone was still watching. She needed answers. Maybe Mr. Thornton left a clue in his study. She tiptoed upstairs, her sneakers silent on the carpet. The study door was ajar, and she slipped inside. The room smelled of old books and leather. Lila's eyes fell on Mr. Thornton's desk, where a locked drawer had always caught her attention. He'd once said, "That's for special things, Lila." Her fingers brushed the drawer, but it wouldn't budge. Then she heard it a creak from the hallway. Her heart stopped. She ducked behind the desk, just as the door swung open. Heavy footsteps entered. "She's not here," a man's voice growled Victor's voice. "Keep looking," hissed Clara. "That maid's hiding something. Grandfather wouldn't give her everything for no reason." Lila's stomach twisted. They were searching for her. She held her breath, praying they wouldn't find her. But then Victor's hand landed on the desk, inches from her face. "What's this?" he muttered, picking up a small key from the desk. Lila's eyes widened. Was that the key to the locked drawer? As Victor and Clara argued, Lila's mind raced. What was in that drawer, and why were they so sure she was hiding something? Before she could think, Clara screamed, "There's someone in here!" Lila's heart froze. They'd found her! Lila's heart thundered as she crouched behind Mr. Thornton's desk, Clara's scream echoing in her ears. "There's someone in here!" Clara shrieked again. Lila squeezed her eyes shut. Sure, she was caught. But then Victor laughed, cold and sharp. "It's just a stupid cat, Clara. Look!" Lila peeked out and saw Muffin, her cat, darting across the study floor. How had Muffin gotten into the mansion? Relief flooded Lila, but it didn't last. Victor kicked at Muffin, who yowled and ran out. "Let's go," Clara snapped. "She's not here." Their footsteps faded, and Lila let out a shaky breath. She couldn't stay hidden forever. Her eyes locked on the small key Victor had left on the desk. It glinted in the moonlight streaming through the window. That key had to open the locked drawer. Lila grabbed it, her hands trembling, and knelt by the desk. The key fit perfectly. With a soft click, the drawer slid open. Inside was a single envelope, yellowed with age, addressed to Lila May. Her breath caught. Why was her name on something so old? She tore it open, her fingers clumsy. A letter fell out, written in Mr. Thornton's shaky handwriting. "Dear Lila," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone. You deserve the truth. You're not just my housekeeper, you're my daughter." Lila gasped, the letter slipping from her hands. Daughter? That couldn't be right. She was just Lila, a simple woman with no family. But the letter went on. "Your mother worked for me years ago. We fell in love, but my family forced us apart. She never told you about me. I'm sorry I kept this secret, but I watched over you all these years." Tears stung Lila's eyes. Mr. Thornton was her father? That's why he left her everything. Her head spun, but then she heard voices outside the study. Clara and Victor were back. "Check the desk," Victor growled. Lila's heart raced. She shoved the letter into her apron and crawled under the desk, clutching the key. The door creaked open. Footsteps came closer. "What's this drawer doing open?" Clara hissed. Lila held her breath, her body trembling. They were right above her. If they looked down, she was done for. Lila's heart pounded as she crouched under the desk, Clara's sharp voice cutting through the air. "This drawer's open. Someone's been here." Victor leaned down, his shadow falling over Lila. She pressed herself against the desk's wooden back, barely breathing. The letter in her apron felt like it was burning a hole. Mr. Thornton, her father? It still didn't feel real. But if Clara and Victor found her now, she might never get to understand the truth. Victor's hand brushed the desk, inches from her face. "Nothing's here," he muttered, standing up. Clara huffed. "She's gotta be somewhere. That maid's too sneaky." They stomped out, slamming the door. Lila waited, her chest tight, until the mansion was silent. She crawled out, legs wobbly, and clutched the letter. She had to get out now, but as she reached the study door, it flew open. Clara stood there, eyes blazing. "You!" she screamed, grabbing Lila's arm. "What did you steal?" Lila yanked free, stumbling back. "I didn't steal anything!" she cried, her voice stronger than she felt. Victor appeared behind Clara, blocking the door. "Then why are you sneaking around?" he snarled. Lila's eyes darted to the window. No way out. Her hand tightened on the letter. She had to tell them maybe the truth would stop them. "Mr. Thornton, he was my father," she said, her voice shaking. Clara laughed, cruel and loud. "You? His daughter? That's ridiculous." But Victor's face changed, his eyes narrowing. "Wait, that's why he gave her everything." Before Lila could react, Clara lunged, snatching the letter from her hand. She read it, her face twisting with rage. "This is a lie," she shouted, tearing it up. Lila gasped, tears falling as the pieces fluttered to the floor. But then, a loud voice boomed from the doorway. "It's no lie." Mr. Grayson, the lawyer, stood there holding a folder. "I have proof. Lila is Mr. Thornton's daughter. The will is final." The family gasped, crowding behind him. Clara's face went pale. Victor dropped his head, defeated. Lila stood tall, wiping her tears. She wasn't just a housekeeper anymore. She was Lila Mae Thornton, heir to the fortune and her father's love. The family stared, silent, as she walked past them, head high, ready to claim her new life.